event tomorrow, inshallah. Are all invited. Welcome Ramadan event tomorrow, inshallah. We'll have three speakers, Sheikh Mustafa Turk and Imam Fahim and myself. We'll be talking tomorrow about how to maximize our benefit from the month of Ramadan. Tomorrow at Balkan Center, 6 o'clock, inshallah. Pray Maghrib and the program will start right after Maghrib. Be there, inshallah. Entrance is free. Balkan Center tomorrow, 6 o'clock, inshallah, 6 to 9, and whatever we serve. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله والحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا رسول الله وعلى آله وصحبه ومن والاه وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ثم أما بعد. We start today inshallah talking about Tafseer Al-Baqarah, and before we start we need to talk about the virtues of Surah Al-Baqarah. Surah Al-Baqarah is so unique in many different ways. One way is that it is the longest surah in the entire Quran. Anyone know how many ayat?
286.
286 ayat. It's also unique because it has the best ayah ever in the entire Quran. Does anyone know?
Of course, the last.
Ayat al-Kursi. Right? So the best surah is Surah Al-Baqarah, Surah Al-Fatiha, and the best ayah is Ayat al-Kursi. Rasulullah one day asked Ubay ibn Ka'b, one of the Hafaz of the Quran, which ayah you think is the best in the Quran? And he said, Ya Rasulullah, I think it is Allah la ilaha illa huwa al-hayy al-qayyum la ta'khudhuhu sinatun wa nawm. So Rasulullah patted his shoulder and told, congratulations for the kind of knowledge you have been given. So it's also unique because it is revealed in Medina, except one ayah, as some ulama said, Surah Al-Baqarah 281, that says, وَاتَّقُوا يَوْمًا تُرْجَعُونَ فِيهِ إِلَى اللَّهِ. Fear a day in which that you will be returned to Allah. ثُمَّ تُوَفَّى كُلُّ نَفْسٍ مَا كَسَبَتْ وَهُمْ لَا يُظْلَمُونَ. Every soul will be compensated based on what they did. So this is believed to be the last ayah ever revealed in the Quran. Verse number 281. وَاتَّقُوا يَوْمًا تُرْجَعُونَ فِيهِ إِلَى اللَّهِ. And this surah is known as Fustat al-Quran. Fustat means the big tent in which everything is inside. This is the Fustat al-Quran. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said that everything has its hub, like the hub of the camel. Everything has like a top or a height. And the hub of al-Quran is Surah Al-Baqarah. It's full of do's and don'ts and reminders and ahkam. Rasulullah ﷺ said, "Iqra'u Surah Al-Baqarah, read Surah Al-Baqarah, keep reading Surah Al-Baqarah." Umar radiallahu anhu learned Surah Al-Baqarah and understood its ahkam in 12 years. It took 12 years for him to know tafsir, not only memorizing, but memorizing, knowing the tafsir of Surah Al-Baqarah, the ahkam. Plenty of ahkam. Perhaps, inshallah, we'll come talk about them. أحكام الجهاد وأحكام الأسرة وأحكام الزواج والطلاق والنفقة وإلى آخره. So he said, اقرأوا سورة البقرة فإن أخذها بركة. Because taking Surah Al-Baqarah is barakah, bring blessing to you at your house. وتركها حسرة. And abandoning Surah Al-Baqarah is a great regret. It's a big regret. Those who ignore Surah Al-Baqarah, they will regret when they see the reward, the big reward given to those who know Surah Al-Baqarah. وَلَا تَسْتَطِيعُهَا الْبَطَلَةِ. Al-Batala here means the magicians. Magicians cannot do any black magic. They cannot do anything with Surah Al-Baqarah. Because the shayateen hate Surah Al-Baqarah. They cannot tolerate listening to Surah Al-Baqarah. Rasulullah also said in other hadith that a shaitan runs away from the house in which Surah Al-Baqarah is recited. And this is something that we can call ghaib. We don't know, we don't see what kind of effect of the words of Surah Al-Baqarah and how do the shayateen know that this Surah Al-Baqarah is not Al-Imran or Nisa. We don't know. But Rasulullah told us that the shaitan runs away from this house in which Surah Al-Baqarah is recited. the last 3 ayat, actually there are 10 ayat in Surah Al-Baqarah if you recite them according to hadith, 10 ayat, the first 5 ayat, ayat al-Kursi, and 2 ayat after, and the last 3 ayat of Surah Al-Baqarah. لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض وإن تبدوا ما في أنفسكم أو تخفوه يحاسبكم بالله, to the end of the surah. So the hadith knows that those who recite these 10 ayat of Surah Al-Baqarah in a night, the shaitan will not enter this house until the morning. And if you read it in the morning, the shaitan will not come to the house until the evening. So it's part of Adhkar al-Sabah and Adhkar al-Masa. In the morning, say Alif Lam Mim ذلك الكتاب أولئك على هدى من ربهم وأولئك هم المفلحون الله لا إله إلا هو الحي القيوم, until أولئك أصحاب النار هم فيها خالدون, and then لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض to the end. Imam Qurtubi mentioned the story of Labid. Labid ibn Abi Rabi'a, one of the top 10 poets in the Jahiliyyah, pre-Islamic era, and he actually became Muslim. And Labid was one of the best. You know, some poetry used to hang them on the walls of Al-Kaaba, put mu'allaqat. This is how significant these poetry is. So he is one of those who has one of the mu'allaqat written and hanged on the walls of Al-Kaaba. So Arabs come from everywhere to make Hajj or Umrah at that time, and they read these surah, like he and Imru al-Qais and Al-Harith ibn Hilmiz, Amr ibn Kulthum, Antara ibn Shaddad, what else?
طرف بن العبد.
طرف بن العبد، خولة أطلال ببرقة بفهمدي. وزهير بن أبي سلمة. So Labid is one of them. And Imam Shafi'i said about himself, Imam Shafi'i came way after. He said, if ولولا الشعر العلماء يزني لكنت اليوم أشعر من لبيدي. So Imam Shafi'i said, I know how to say poetry, but I know that it's not very appropriate for ulama to say a lot of poetry. Other than this, I would have been better than Labid. I would have been better than Labid. And this Labid, when he became Muslim, he did not say a verse of poetry anymore. He stopped saying poetry. And one day, Umar ibn Khattab, he's like a superstar. Umar ibn Khattab said, why don't you just read some of your poetry? He said, no. Since I heard Al-Baqarah and Al-Imran, I decided to stop saying poetry. Because there's nothing could be better than this. And that's someone, again, it's a superstar of poetry. People until today memorize this abiyat, amazing, amazing. One of the, perhaps the most difficult one, Mu'allaqat Labid. Does anybody know that beginning? I'll remember it, inshallah. عفت الديار محلها فمقامها بمنى تأبد لونها فلجامها رزقت مرابيع النجوم وصابها وادق الرواحل جودها فلهامها. Long and beautiful. But he stopped. He said, after hearing Al-Baqarah and Al-Imran, I would never say anything. So his salary was 2,000, so Umar actually increased his salary. He did 2,500. And Umar liked this so much. Many of the ahkam that we apply in our life, ahkam al-fiqh Islam. As you know, there are some ayat, some said 200, others said 300. Ayat al-ahkam, so ayat al-ahkam. The ayat has to do with Islamic law, or the jurists or the fuqaha, they look at this and try to extract ahkam. So ahkam al-wudu, ahkam al-tahara, ahkam al-salat, hajj, ahkam al-zawaj, and talaq, and كل الأحكام المتعلقة بالأسرة موجودة في سورة البقرة. سورة البقرة وسورة المائدة full of آيات الأحكام. يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا قمتم إلى الصلاة فاغسلوا وجوهكم وأيديكم إلى المرافق وامسحوا برؤوسكم وأرجلكم إلى الكعبين. آيات الوضوء, just one آيات سورة المائدة. آيات الإيلاء and husband and wife relationship and divorce, custody, and so on. that are mentioned in details in this beautiful surah. So, let's start with Alif Lam Mim. What's Alif Lam Mim? Alif Lam Ra, Ha Mim, Ain, Sin, Qaf. Now, I have different opinions. One group of scholars, including some of the Sahaba, Abu Bakr Siddiq, they said that these are things that we don't know what it means, and we don't have to ask about it. Because Alif Lam Mim is Alif Lam Mim. Allah said Alif Lam Mim, then it's Alif Lam Mim. He says Ha Mim, it's Ha Mim. If Allah wants us to know the meaning, He would have revealed it to the Prophet, and the Prophet would have told us. And since the Prophet did not tell us exactly what Alif Lam Mim means, Alif Lam Mim Sad in Araf, Alif Lam Mim Ra in Ra'd, since the Prophet did not teach us the meaning of them, then there's no point of asking why or what is the meaning of it. Because if the meaning is important, the Prophet would have told us what it is. Right? That's the logic of this group or school of thought. Some of the Sahaba are included. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud as well. And they said actually there are parts of the Quran that nobody knows its exact meaning except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's including Alif Lam Mim and that proof in the beginning. Others say, no, we should actually try to find the meaning. There's nothing wrong with that because the Quran was revealed for us to understand, right? So if Allah says Alif Lam Mim, there must be a meaning. Yes, the Prophet did not teach it because the Sahaba did not dare to ask. Sahaba used to ask few questions. They did not ask Ya Rasulullah, what is Alif Lam Mim? Nobody asked because they're being taught, don't ask before the knowledge comes to you. Others said this is like mutashabihat. Mutashabih means that we don't really know exactly its meaning, but some they did some ijtihad. Some actually said that Ismullah al-A'zam is included, that the Ismul A'zam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is included in this huruf. But we don't know exactly which huruf that makes Ismullah al-A'zam. Another explanation actually to the huruf al-Muqatta'a is what some ulama said, that Arabs or the kuffar, the mushrikeen, they actually agreed not to listen to the Quran. قال الذين كفروا لا تسمعوا لهذا القرآن والغوا فيه لعلكم تغلبون. They advised each other, do not listen to the Quran, do not allow anyone to publicly recite the Quran. You know the story of Abdullah ibn Mas'ud, who said, Wallahi, I will go and recite it. And he did, and they beat him very badly. He almost died, and he has no family to protect him. And he said, we told you, he said, inshallah, tomorrow I'll do it again. Someone has to, convey the message. So, and when they hear the Quran, they run away, they don't want to listen to it. But when they heard Alif Lam Mim Sad, this attracted their attention. So what is this Alif Lam Mim Sad? Let's see what Alif Lam Mim Sad means. So it was, according to this understanding, it was a way to attract their attention, to make them curious, to listen to what comes after Alif Lam Mim and so on. Some made some ijtihad, but again, it cannot be certain. They say Alif from the word Allah, La from the word Jibreel, and the Mim from the word Muhammad. So Allah revealed Al-Quran through Jibreel to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Some say that Alif Lam Mim is abbreviation of Ana Allahu A'lam. Ana Allahu A'lam. Alif Lam Ra, Ana Allahu Ara. Alif Lam Mim Sad, Ana Allahu Afsilu. So they try to find a meaning of these ayat. And it's interesting that Arabs, actually part of the Arabic language is that they used to say words instead of, sounds or letters instead of a word. يعني for example, فقلت لها قفي فقالت قاف. I told the camel to stop, and it says off. Off is a sound. Off. Surah off. It's not a word. Which means that I told her to stop, and it stopped. So the word off means stopped. So another example, زهير بالخير خيرات وإن شرا فا. وإن شرا فا. Which means وإن شرا فشر. ولا أريد الشر إلا أنت. لا أريد الشر إلا أنت. تا and ألف. That means تشاء إلا أن تشاء. So that it did exist in the poetry of Arabs that use some letters to instead of a word, and that people understand what he's talking about. So there's nothing totally new about this. Arabs actually use this, and in the hadith, كفى بالسيف شاء. Rasulullah said, كفى, it's enough. The sword is enough. Shah. What's Shah? Shafir. Healer. A sayf is a healer for some people. Kafa is sayf Shah. So that's why some actually said there must be a meaning, and they did ijtihad to find out what is the meaning. The famous opinion is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala challenged Arabs to bring or to write Quran like this Quran, or 10 surahs, or even one surah, and they couldn't. And Allah used these words or these letters in the beginning of some surahs to tell them that this Quran comes from the same alphabet that you use. No new sounds, no new, every word in the Quran, you know, every letter, every sound. The same language you use, so come up with Quran like it, or 10 surahs, or even one surah. So it was kind of a challenge for them to come up with Quran. And of course they failed. They failed to write a book like the Quran, or 10 surahs, short or long, or even one surah, until today. From the time of the Prophet ﷺ until today, they failed to do that. Why? Why is that? If Arabs are very good Arabic literature, and they are the enemies of Islam, so and Quran said, bring all your friends, all your supporters. If jinn and human come together, made a big committee to create one surah, so why is it so difficult? Some say because of the nazm of Al-Quran itself is very unique. Others say that it's something called sirfa. Sirfa means deviation. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not allow them to do that. So because some ayat are very simple, right? ليس على الأعمى حرج ولا على الأعرج حرج ولا على المريض حرج ولا على أنفسكم أن تأكلوا من بيوتكم أو بيوت آبائكم أو بيوت أمهاتكم أو بيوت أخوالكم. I mean, Arabs could have created something similar, but Allah did not allow them to do that. So whether it is the structure of the Quran itself, or Allah did not allow them to create or to imitate the Quran, they did not meet this challenge anyways. So this is just a quick idea about the الحروف المقطعة والحروف المقطعة. And we don't understand why some surahs start with Alif Lam Mim. What surahs start with Alif Lam Mim, by the way?
Six surah.
What are they?
البقرة، العمران، الروم، السجدة, and العنكبوت, and we're still missing one.
العنكبوت والروم
والسجدة
ولقمان. All right. How about Hamim? How many surahs start with Hamim?
4 or 5 at the end.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
دخان.
So let's start with Ghafir.
No.
Okay, Ghafir, Fussilat, Shura, Al-Dukhan, Al-Jathiyah, Al-Ahqaf. They start with Hamim, and they call them Al-Hawamim. Right? And some start with Alif Lam Ra. Which surah start with Alif Lam Ra?
Yusuf is
Surah Yusuf,
Ibrahim.
Al-Imran,
No, Al Imran
Yunus,
is after Alif Lam Mim.
Yunus and Hud. Yunus, Hud, Yusuf, three consecutive surahs. Yunus, Hud, Yusuf, and Arad started Alif Lam Mim. Alif Lam Mim Ra. The only one that had Alif Lam Mim Ra. The Mim and Ra come together in Surah Ra. And Alif Lam Mim Sad in Surah Al-Araf, also unique one time only. And Kaf Ha Ain Sad,
Maryam.
Surah Maryam. Ha Mim Ain Sin Qaf. Ha Mim Ain Sin Qaf. Surah Shura. Right? So these are the surahs that start with, and of course, Sad, Qaf, and Nun. These three surahs start with one letter. Qaf, Surah Qaf, Surah Nun, or Surah Al-Qalam, and Surah Sad, Sad wal-Qur'an al-Dhikr. Sad wal-Qur'an al-Dhikr. Why Sad? Allah Ta'ala. Some actually brought all these words, all these huruf, Alif, Lam, Mim, and Alif, Lam, Ra, and they removed the repeated. So Alif, Lam, they take only one Alif and one Lam. Alif, Lam, Mim, Alif, Lam, Ra, Alif, Lam, Mim, Sad, they just take one. And they took Ha, Mim, one Ha and one Mim. And Kaf, Ha, Ain, Sad, and they brought these letters together, and some actually created from this a statement that says Qawlun, Hakimun, Bari'un, Lahu Sir. This qawl, that the same, Hakim, Hikmah, Bari'un, amazing, Lahu Sir, has a secret. So again, you can put these words and you can create from them some statements, sentence. ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه. No one ever, have you ever saw someone writing a book and says, this is the book, there's no doubt in it? No one dared to say that. Even in dissertations and academic writing, usually in the introduction, they say this is just a humble contribution into this field, and I hope this can encourage other researchers to add to it. That's what people say. If it's good, it's good. If it's found wrong after that, it's possible, right? But no one, as we know in human history, wrote a book and in the first page says, there's no doubt in it. This is the book, there's no doubt in it. And Al-Quran is self-evident itself. If you think there's any contradiction, please bring it up. As Al-Quran says, وَلَوْ كَانَ مِنْ عِنْدِ غَيْرِ اللَّهِ, if it came from any other source other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they would have found plenty of contradiction. But there's no contradiction. Quran support each other. And there's no contradiction with any scientific fact, not theory. There's no contradiction between Quranic verse and the scientific fact. The opposite is true. Although it's not a book of science, but you will never find any contradiction. Unlike the Bible, when many scientists actually cannot reconcile the Bible with what they know. And that's why you always keep the Bible out of your classroom. Keep it in the church. When they come to the classroom, keep it out. But in the case of the Quran, this is another way of al-i'jaz. You need to understand that Al-Quran is mu'jiz. The word mu'jiza means miracle, and mu'jiz in different levels. One level is the Arabic language itself. We have the Arabic language, and we have pre-Islamic Arabic language, which is the highest, the names that I just mentioned. And then we have the Quranic language, which is totally different. It's not prose or poem. It's something else. That's why when Arabs heard the Quran, they said, we have never heard anything like this. And when some of them tried to accuse the Prophet of being a sha'ir, a poet, they said that he cannot be a poet because we know poem and how it's structured, the taf'ilat, the buhur. It's not rajas, it's not basit, it's not tawil, it's not one of the patterns that we know. So it is different. So it's more just, and the ulama المسلمين نفسهم, يعني the Muslim scholars themselves, they try to find out what is so unique about the Quran, what makes the Quran so difficult to duplicate. What's unique about the Quran that Arabs could not actually come up with a surah? What is it? Same language, same words, same sounds, same alphabet, same expressions they use. And until today, few scholars are trying to find actually what exactly is the secret behind this amazing structure. Abdul Qadir Jurjani is one of the famous Muslim linguists. He came up with a theory, opinion that says, سماها نظرية النظم, the structure. Because a word in itself could not be baligh or not baligh, it cannot be good or bad. A word itself, it depends on where you put it. It depends on where you put it. So in maybe one context, it's very ugly to put this word there, it doesn't fit. In other contexts, it's perfect. Same word. So when you have every word of the Quran placed perfectly, nobody can do that. Human beings cannot do that. They cannot do that. Sometimes they squeeze a word in a poetry just to fit the pattern, right? Just to fit in. If you take it away, the meaning is still good, understood. Or it's not really fitting, but because he wants to be the rhyme, so he put it there. But it's not baligh, it's not in the right place. But for the Quran, and every word, every sound is in the right place perfectly. So when you want to create like prose and you want it to rhyme, sometimes you just try to find words that just have the same rhyme, but the meaning is not as perfectly fitting as it should be. So the rhyme becomes a priority, not the meaning. Okay? So if it rhymes and the meaning is perfect, it's great, right? But if it rhymes but does not serve the meaning, then the rhyme does not really have a value. Then. ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه. There's no doubt. So we Muslims, what makes us Muslims, I personally talk about myself, is that after reading the Quran and keep reading and trying to understand the Quran, sometimes the Quran tells you that that's not man-made book. That is the most important part of our religion, how to build yaqeen, how to build certainty, how to be certain this is Kalamullah, not Kalam Muhammad, or as some Orientalists try to say that Quran has been developed over time, it's not just made one time. After Muhammad, or some people added some surahs, and they tried to come up with this theory, it does not make any sense. But it was not developed by a group of people or generations. Some added and some deleted and some changed. It didn't happen like this. We know the last ayah came in the time of the Prophet ﷺ. After Rasulullah, there's no more Quran for us. So ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه. Yeah, sometimes we have doubts about things. Sometimes Shaitan brings some doubts. Sahaba themselves, they came to Rasulullah and said, Ya Rasulullah, some ideas come to us that we prefer to be thrown from the top of the mountain than speaking about them. And Rasulullah said, okay, these thoughts came to you? He said, yes. He said, that is Salih al-Iman. That is, the definition of Iman. To have these kind of thoughts and you don't want to talk about it. Because this was waswasat al-shaytan. Rudd al-waswasa, say, A'udhu billahi min ash-shaytan rajim, and you'll be fine. So when we have da'wah, where should we go? Go to Kalamullah. Go to Al-Quran. Read it. It's not like any other book. It is an Islamic miracle, as they say. It's open, it is accessible. And the more you read it objectively, the more you find out that no one can say this. And some ayat, when subhanAllah, you read it, it cannot be. No human being can say that. No man in the 7th century would say, وَالسَّمَاءَ بَنَيْنَاهَا بِأَيْدٍ وَإِنَّا لَمُوسِعُونَ وَالْأَرْضَ فَرَشْنَاهَا فَنِعْمَ الْمَاهِدُونَ. No one would. No one would say يوم نطوي السماء كطي السجل للكتب كما بدأنا أول خلق نعيد وعدا عليه إنا كنا فاعلين. Only Allah can say that. Why would Muhammad bother to talk about the development of the fetus in the womb of Allah? Why? I mean, nobody required him to talk about this. Why would he talk about something that, if it was proven wrong, then everything is wrong, everything is gone? But he's not speaking his own mind. He's just speaking what he gets, what he receives from Allah. Allah is the speaker, the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَالنَّجْمِ إِذَا هَوَى مَا ضَلَّ صَاحِبُهُ. The whole surah. To the point when the kuffar of Makkah, they could not stop listening. And in the end of the surah, it said, فَاسْجُدُوا لِلَّهِ وَاعْبُدُوا. They made sujood, all of them. They could not help but to make sujood. They would have been taken by the beauty of the Quran. Why would Muhammad say, okay, just bring up one surah? So that cannot be a word of a man. The most fluent man Allah has created, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Even Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam cannot create this, cannot write both of this at all. So there's no doubt. This لا ريب فيه. ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه. There's no doubt. You want to find mistakes? Go ahead. And some stupid people are they try to find linguistic mistakes in the Quran.
How many times do
يعني Abu Jahl, Abu Lahab, and Utbah, and Shayba, and all these leaders could not find any linguistic mistakes, and now some, in the modern time, they've all had these linguistic mistakes. Give me a break. And the mistakes that they claim there, it's not a mistake at all. That reflects the ignorance of Arabic language. ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين. Some of our youth actually they have a lot of doubt about Islam. Why are Muslims? Why? Who said that Islam is the right religion? Most of the time when I encounter these kind of cases, just go back to the Quran. Go back to the Quran. Kalam Allah. So, and they ask what makes the Quran different from the Bible. Just want to know? The answer is study. If you really want to know the meaning, the answer is go and study and read. How could someone in the 7th century cannot write his own name come up with this kind of knowledge that proclaim itself to be the way of life at all times, at all places? Gives you a comprehensive way of life. Someone that says never been in school, never read any book. That's why for the Prophet ﷺ to be illiterate is actually it's an honor. Illiteracy for someone is like a negative thing. But for Rasulullah, Al-Quran says if you were able to read or write, people would have said that you wrote it with your own hands. وَمَا كُنْتَ تَتْلُو مِنْ قَبْلِهِ مِنْ كِتَابٍ وَلَا تَخُطُّهُ بِيَمِينِكَ. You have never read from any book or write it down with your hand. إِذَا لَارْتَابَ الْمُبْطِلُونَ. Those who have doubt, they say, oh, you see, he knows, he had access to this knowledge and he made up something out of his own mind. بل هو آيات بينات في صدور الذين أوتوا العلم. آيات بينات. Quran talk about itself. ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه. تلك آيات الكتاب الحكيم. كتاب حكمت آياته ثم فصلت من لدن حكيم خبير. And most of the time, we have Alif Lam Mim, Alif Lam Ra. It always talks about the Quran. Most of the time, Hamim والكتاب المبين. ألف لام ميم ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه. حاميم تنزيل كتاب من الله العزيز الحكيم. Right? And so on. Most of the time, in fact, حروف المقطعة and then talk about the revelation of Al-Quran Al-Karim. هدى للمتقين. So now we should ask ourselves, if the Quran says it's guidance, in this Quran, for the muttaqin, it was not guidance for the kuffar of Makkah. They heard it and they admired it, but it was not a source of guidance for them. For the Quran, for some, it's guidance, and for others, misguidance. Some would read the Quran and be misguided. Right? قل هو للذين آمنوا هدى وشفاء والذين لا يؤمنون في آذانهم وقر وهو عليهم عمى. Quran for the believers is huda, guidance, and shifa. And for those who really don't want to believe, وَالَّذِينَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ فِي آذَانِهِمْ وَقْرٌ, their ears are blocked and their eyes cannot see. So, huda lil-muttaqin. We may ask ourselves, but I don't count myself among the muttaqin. I'm not there yet. So does this mean that Quran is not a guide for me? I did not reach the level of muttaqin. I'm Muslim, alhamdulillah. The ulama even have a debate. Can you say I'm a mu'min or not? Imam Shafi'i said, you say, can say I'm a mu'min inshallah. Then Hanafis say, okay, they have doubt. Anyways, long discussion, but yeah, I'm Muslim. I say Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa anna Muhammadan Rasul. That I know. I'm a mu'min. I believe in Allah, His angels, His prophets, His revelation, His day of judgment, other. I believe. I might not be a good believer, I might not be an excellent believer, but I'm a believer. I believe in Allah. I love His angels, I love His prophets, I love all revelations. I believe in the day of judgment, hell and heaven. But am I one of the muttaqin? That's kind of difficult to answer. Even the muttaqin don't say we are muttaqin. Right, so. And then this tells us that we really need to understand Al-Quran as one chapter, as one surah. And that's important to read the entire Quran as one unit. Otherwise you may get lost. Because the Quran uses so many terminology. Muttaqin, Abrar, Muhsineen, right? What else? Al-Mu'mineen, Al-Muslimin. What other terminologies the Quran uses? Salihin. أدخلنا برحمتك في عبادك الصالحين الصديقين النبيين والصديقين. So where are we from all this? I mean, these big adjectives, right? Muslimin, yes, I know Muslim, alhamdulillah. Mu'mineen, yes, I'm a believer. But am I one of the abrar? In the abrar في نعيم. إن المتقين في جنات وعيون. يريد إن المتقين في جنات وعيون. Does this apply to me, or I'm not there yet? So, you read in other surahs about this Quran, هدى وبشرى للمسلمين. هدى وبشرى للمسلمين is guidance and good news for the Muslimin. So, yes, this applies to me. It's a guidance for me and good news for me as Muslim. So, alhamdulillah, I feel I'm good. And then Quran takes us to the higher level, right? قالت الأعراب آمنا قل لم تؤمنوا ولكن قولوا أسلمنا. The Arab, this is our believers. Quran said, you are not believers yet, you are Muslims. But you did not reach the level of Iman. ولما يدخل الإيمان في قلوبكم. Iman did not really come and settle in your heart yet. وبشر المؤمنين. So Iman, Islam wants to take you, Quran wants to take you from the level of Islam to this level of Iman. And from the level of Iman to the level of Taqwa. So, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس. As للناس, all people can find guidance in Quran, but that's other good news. It's not exclusively for the muttaqin, it's also guidance to everyone, for those who really want to be guided. Read this ayat al-siyam. شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان. I'm one of the nas. I'm Muslim, I'm mu'min, alhamdulillah. And if you really follow the guidance of Al-Quran, then you will reach the level of taqwa. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم. Why? لعلكم تتقون. So the month of Ramadan is coming, and you should hit this ceiling of taqwa, and then the more or the higher you go, more guidance you find in Quran. That's why not everybody get the same guidance in Quran. Everybody needs, but not everybody get the wisdom and the hikmah of Quran. Because people are different levels. Some are just Muslims. They want to get hasanat. They read Quran to get hasanat. That's it. That's the level. Others read to in the time of hardship, where they lost someone and they feel sad. They read Quran to find, some healing. Another level. And some go deep, so deep. They think and reflect and compare, and they can find treasures. So Quran is not going to give the same level of guidance to everyone. It depends on where you are and how you deal with the Quran. So don't worry if you think you're not one of the muttaqin, but you are going through this journey, upgrade. And we need to actually be aware of this. We need to be aware of, I'm not, excellent, but I will try to do better. I'll try to go from the level of Islam to the level of Iman. And Iman, Rasulullah said, Iman is like 60 plus branches or levels. Keep going until you reach the level of Al-Ihsan. Taqwa is there. You be one of the muttaqeen, muhsineen, or abrar. Why not? We compete each other in dunya, who's going to get a higher degree, and who's going to get a better job, who's going to make more money. And we always compete on these things. We don't need any encouragement. That's what we do naturally. But we are not as eager to go to a higher place in Jannah than others. We're not very busy with this. We're okay, we're happy with where we are. Why is that? Why don't you be more ambitious? Instead of being the third or the fourth level of Jannah, go all the way up, Jannah al-Firdaus. And many people regret that they have judgment. Why didn't you go higher? We could have, when they see the reward of things that they used to underestimate. And one of these things, Imam Shafi'i said, that one of the things that people were tremendously, the believers, regret in the day of judgment. It was very easy to do a huge reward and they missed it. Dhikrullah. Dhikr. Say Subhanallah. Alhamdulillah. La ilaha illallah. ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. استغفر الله العظيم وأتوب إليه. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد. All these dhikr. Simple, easy. Subhanallah wa bihamdih. Subhanallah al-Azim. Very simple. And then they see the dhakirin, والذاكرين الله كثيرا والذاكرات. Wow, they went from here all the way because of dhikr. So why didn't we do that? We have done so much dhikr. So this is just an example. Why are we talking about this? So the point is that Quran encourages us to take us from one level to the other, but we have to be aware of this. I don't want anybody to go ahead of me in Jannah. In dunya, we put others ahead of us when it comes to dunya. We have only just food enough for two, one by four. It's okay, you know what, I'm not going to eat. You prefer your brother and give him food. If everybody's sitting, except you are standing, and you give your chair to someone who's older, you prefer him. That's good in dunya things, but when it comes to al-akhirah, no, sorry, I want to be the first one. Come to the first row, because those who pray in the first row get more reward. I'm not going to give my place in the first row to my uncle or even my father. That's my place. I want to go ahead of everyone. That's not selfishness. That's what it's supposed to be. Allah said, Sabiqu, Sari'u. Sabiqu, Sibaq. Sibaq means? What's Sibaq?
Like racing.
Racing, race. And in race, everybody wants to be the first one. Sabiqu, Sari'u, Sari'u. Sabiqun as-sabiqun. Sabiqun, those who went ahead, right? Those are sabiqun. They passed the stage of Iman and Islam and Iman. They reached the real Ihsan. They became closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين هدى للناس هدى وبشرى للمؤمنين, right? And as if the Quran wants to take you to a higher level and make you actually more ambitious in reaching the level of taqwa. الذين يؤمنون بالغيب, one of the first characteristic of the believers, of the muttaqeen. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked about the qualities of the muttaqeen, mu'mineen, muhsineen in many surahs. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ, talk about them, what they do. Surah Al-Ma'arij recite tonight, إِلَّا الْمُصَلِّينَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ عَلَى صَلَاتِهِمْ دَائِمُونَ الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي أَمْوَالِهِمْ حَقٌّ مَعْلُومٌ. Allah talked about what does He expect from you, right? So, الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ, the very first quality of these muttaqin, those who believe in unseen. They call it philosophy, metaphysics. Al-Ghayb is the opposite of Shahada. Shahada is what we see now. Ask me how many people here, we can count how many people. But we don't know anything about what's going on outside the masjid, right? We don't know anything. But for us, it's the Ghayb. It's the Ghayb. What happened next door, we don't know. That's the Ghayb for us. Shahada is what we can witness. What we can hear, see, and smell. That's Shahada. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is alim al-Ghayb wa Shahada. For him, his knowledge about Ghayb and Shahada is the same. There's no Ghayb for Allah. Everything is Shahada. الذين يؤمنون بالغيب, we believe at the core of our belief is to believe in Allah. Believe in the day of judgment. Have we seen the day of judgment? No. We believe in Jannah. Have we seen Jannah? No. We believe in the hellfire. Have we seen the hellfire? No. We believe in Muhammad. Have we seen Muhammad? No. We believe in the angels. Have we seen the angels? No. So your belief system is based on what? ذلك الكتاب لا ريب فيه هدى للمتقين الذين يؤمنون بالغيب. And الإيمان بالغيب includes all these things and more. In the day of judgment, the prophets will be asked whether they convey the message to their people or not. Noah will be brought. Lord asked him in front of his people, did Noah convey my message to you? They said, no, he did not. We haven't heard anything from him. And Noah said, wallahi, I did my best. Do you have any witnesses? Yes. The Ummah Muhammad are the witness. And Ummah Muhammad said, yes, we believe. We witness that Noah conveyed the message of Allah. And they will, argue that you came way after us. How can you be a witness for something that happened thousands of years before you? So we read Kalam Allah. We have the Quran. The Quran said that Noah conveyed the message and his people rejected him, and that's why they deserve to be drowned. So, تكونوا شهداء على الناس. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, I want you to be witnesses over people. And this ummah will be witness. For being witnesses in the day of judgment. We support all the prophets and support them and testifying that they have done their work. So, الذين يؤمنون بالغيب. نحن نؤمن بالغيب. هل الله سبحانه وتعالى غيب؟ الله سبحانه وتعالى is الظاهر والباطن. Right? Surah Al-Hadith, هو الأول والآخر. الظاهر والباطن. He's the first and he's the last. And he's the most obvious and the most hidden. There's a big discussion among philosophers about the visibility of God. Would it be better if God was more visible? That's a question that philosophers actually, our theologians talk about it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is al-Zahir. There's nothing more obvious than Allah. But He's al-Batin. So there are so many things we don't know about Him. Al-Zahir because everything we see points to Him. Everything. Life, insects, animals, birds, humans, the universe, how things work, related, points to Al-Khaliq, Al-Wahid subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's like basic common sense. And sometimes the shiddat al-dhuhur, أحيانا people don't see it. It's like when you look at the sun, a very sunny day, you look at the sun, you cannot really keep looking at the sun because it's too powerful. هو الظاهر سبحانه وتعالى هو الباطن. الحديث اللهم أنت الأول ليس قبلك شيء وأنت الآخر ليس بعدك شيء وأنت الظاهر ليس فوقك شيء وأنت الباطن ليس دونك شيء. أحاط بكل شيء علما. His knowledge and His rahmah. رحمته وسعت كل شيء. But we know His attributes, His characteristics, subhanahu wa ta'ala, but we don't know more about Allah. In Christianity and Judaism, Allah has a body like ours, bigger, much bigger body. He created us in His shape. So He has a head, and shoulder, and arms, legs, and things, and sitting on a chair, a throne. And He created Adam the same shape of God Himself. So that's why I always say that killing people is bad because God created us on His shape. Now for us as Muslims, say there's nothing like unto Him. Simple. Whatever comes to your mind, Allah is different. Because your mind capacity cannot comprehend Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's common sense. Don't waste your energy and your time trying to figure out how Allah looks like. Because you cannot. You cannot put the entire ocean in your mug. Because the mug has a capacity and the ocean is much bigger than the capacity of your mug. So don't waste your life trying to find out how that looks like. What it means to be the beginning and the end. We have a big problem understanding infinity. Because for us as human beings, for our experience, everything has beginning and everything has an end. And everything exists in time and place. We cannot imagine anything out of time, out of place, right? Have you ever experienced anything like this? Something like out of time, out of place? No. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the creator of time and place. الذين يؤمنون بالغيب start with الإيمان بالله وملائكته وكتبه ورسله واليوم الآخر والقدر خيره وشره. It's all غيب. The all غيب. Rasulullah talked about those who will come after. He said, I wish I've seen my brothers. They said, are we not your brothers, Ya Rasulullah? He said, no, you're our companions, Sahabi. Ikhwani, my brothers are those who will come after, never see. And they will find ink on paper, a book, and they believe in everything. I cannot wait to see them, alayhi salatu wasalam. So eager to see us. Understanding that our challenge is perhaps greater than theirs. Because Rasulullah is there. كيف تكفرون وأنتم تتلى عليكم آيات الله وفيكم رسول. Rasulullah is there, you see him, you hear him, and you listen to him, you pray behind him. You have a question, you want to ask him. For us, Rasulullah said, you find plenty of helpers and supporters can help you to be a good Muslim, but they will not find helpers. They are struggling, just holding fast the rope of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, trying their best to keep their iman. That's what we're doing here. We need to help one another because we don't have a lot of helpers. We don't have Sahaba, we don't have Siddiqeen, right? We don't have awliyaullah, these great believers. We don't have any of them. We barely have some scholars here and there. So we are very poor, and we, without Allah's help, cannot take it. So we should really understand how much we need each other and running these kind of programs. الذين يؤمنون بالغيب ويقيمون الصلاة ومما رزقناهم ينفقون. You'll find all the salah and zakah mentioned together. أداء الصلاة, إقام الصلاة, and إيتاء الزكاة. الذين يؤمنون بالغيب ويقيمون الصلاة. إقامة الصلاة is different from performing salah. إقامة الصلاة means do everything perfectly on time. إقامة الصلاة is to pray on time, the beginning of the time, especially. Perfect your wudu. To have good niyyah. You have khushu in your heart. And you do the takbir, the qira'ah, and the right way of making ruku' and sujood, and fill your salah with adhkar, dua, sujood, tashahud, tasdeem. That's iqamah salah. That is how salah should be. The time Rasulullah used to lead Sahaba is iqamah salah. Salah comes, it's as if does not know anybody and nobody knows him. It's for sure, focusing, perfecting your wudu, pray on time, in jama'ah, in the masjid, that's iqamah salah. Right? And sometimes we pray and we don't know what the imam is reciting. If you ask anybody what, even if you remember reciting 2 short surahs, what surah did the imam read in Isha? Don't really remember, I cannot tell. Because we're not there, we're physically there, but our mind is somewhere else. We are performing salah, but that's not iqamah salah. If you take the khushu' out and you apply everything else, then the spirit of the salah is missing. That's why Rasulullah said, some people pray, we get only 1/2 of their prayer, 1/2 of the reward of their prayer, or 1/4 of their prayer, 1/10 of their prayer. Because, again, iqamah salah is different. The quality of the salah is different. الذين يقيمون الصلاة ومما رزقناهم ينفقون. Those who spend في سبيل الله. أقيموا الصلاة وآتوا الزكاة. The infaq في سبيل الله is an expression of submitting to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala because we naturally don't like to spend our money, giving our money to someone else. Right? We desire money, we desire to keep money, our money, and we desire to increase our money. Right? That's why we see all these billionaires, they never have enough. They need more. You know, who could have believed that this wealthiest people in the entire world, they are engaged in this immorality? Because, again, there's something called the whole of God. There's a hole in the heart of every one of us. No one can fill this hole except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this example tells us that we as human beings, we are not just physical beings, we are also spiritual beings. Because we are bigger than the entire world. If you are the wealthiest person on earth, I mean, I cannot imagine what kind of life these people live. But it's never enough. There's something else they keep trying to find, and they will never find it. They will never find it. No one can fill this vacuum except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because we are spiritual beings. And our spirit has its own needs. If you keep giving the body all it needs and more and more and more, and you don't really give your spirit what it needs, then this hole will continue to be there. Whereas those who have like, modest way of life, they stand in prayer, Taraweeh, Ramadan, everybody's enjoying this time watching Netflix. And here some people late at night, standing for long prayer. Who's happier? Now these people are happier because they feel this need by connecting themselves with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I feel sorry, wallahi, for these people who are influential, powerful, strong, wealthy, but living like animals, or even worse than animals. Worse than animals. And they will never be satisfied. They want their Jannah here, and this dunya is not a place that we can call it Jannah. I will stop here and continue, inshallah, perhaps after Ramadan. Inshallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us witness this Ramadan. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make this month of Ramadan one of the best Ramadans, inshallah, we experience. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us His reward, forgiveness, and mercy, and accept our dua in this beautiful month, and make us among those winners of Lela al-Qadr, inshallah subhanahu wa ta'ala. قولوا قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم. جزاكم الله خيرا. في comment two questions, you have to take it.
I wanted to ask you about jinn. So they're being tested in this life too, right?
You me?
Jinn are being tested in this life too, right? So why would you want to avoid jinn as much as possible?
Okay, she's asking about jinn, and they are also responsible. They go through tests. So because we and them, we have a choice to make. And we'll be rewarded when we do the right choice, and we'll be punished if we did the wrong choice, right? And the word jinn is different from shayateen. I want you to differentiate, because some jinn are very good, righteous people. Not every jinn is shaitan. Okay? So every shaitan is jinn, but not every jinn is a shaitan. Shaitan means like a bad jinn. Let's put it this way. So some of them are good believers. They come and join us in prayer. They surround us. They listen down to us. And they like these kind of meetings. When the prayer is recited, they go and stand and pray. And they enjoy it. So not every jinn is a bad.
Yeah, because like everyone says like.
Isn't there also like insan, nas, rashid?
Exactly. Some humans are shayateen. Quran says, وَإِذَا خَلَوْا إِلَىٰ شَيَاطِينِهِمْ قَالُوا إِنَّ مَعَهُمْ شَيَاطِينٌ. They're leaders. So some humans are acting like shaitan. Right? That's true. Jazakallah khair. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد ان لا اله الا انت نستغفرك ونتوب اليك وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى اله وصحبه اجمعين سبحان ربك رب العزه عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين.